The news, good evening. The LDS presidential candidate Wavelram Calawan says that if former President James Michel wants to support his candidature, he welcomes it. He was reacting to a statement made by popular singer Jubilee Williams on stage at the recent LDS convention that Mr. Michel had asked him to convey his support. Mr. Ramkalawan adds that as per the LDS theme for the forthcoming elections, Seychelles is for all its children. Mr. Michel is a son of Seychelles and he welcomes his support. The Department of Foreign Affairs has denied that China is considering setting up a military base in Seychelles. This follows an article published by the BBC last week about a US Department of Defense reporter. SBC News contacted the Foreign Affairs Department for clarification on the matter. It indicated that Seychelles has excellent relations with both China and the US and outstanding collaboration in the maritime sector. However, it said that this matter has never featured on the agenda of their discussions. The United States Department of Defense annual report, which addresses the U.S. perspective on the military and security developments involving China, claims that Seychelles is identified as one of 4 African countries that China may consider as locations for military bases. Other African countries mentioned in the report are Kenya, Tanzania, and Angola. The article from the BBC indicated that the governments of the 3 African countries have not yet officially responded to the report, while other countries have denied being in discussions with China. China already has a military base in Djibouti. The Agency for the Prevention of Drug Abuse and Rehabilitation, APDA, has said that the majority of the 3,300 people using methadone to control their heroin addiction do not do drugs. The explanation from APDA follows the declaration by the LDS presidential candidate Wavel Ramkalawan at the party's convention last week. Mr. Ramkalawan said that there were people on methadone who were also using drugs, which according to him, this should not be the case. The liaison officer at APDA, Dr. Winnie Lawa, said the drug addicts who are on methadone and using drugs at the same time were those on the low-dose methadone treatment.
Obviously, there is an established protocol that we follow, and that protocol starts with a maximum dose of 30 milligrams. That's a maximum dose you can start with, and gradually it gets titrated up with over a period of per week. So there is a rate at which we can titrate up until the patient reaches his or her optimal dose that stabilizes his or her craving. During that period of induction or stabilization, some clients, they might feel that the dose is not enough because obviously it's not sufficient to mitigate the withdrawal and the craving, but the body needs to adjust to that methadone, because if we give one large dose at the first initial point, it will lead to deaths related with overdose. So we do not want this. So that is why this established protocol by UNODC and WHO is essential, and we stick to it strictly. We do not deviate from that protocol. So there are certain points, for example, here at 60 milligrams, we review the patient, and then again at 100 milligrams by the doctor. And there's a process that we follow that the patient, before we decide if a patient needs to increase or to stay on that dose, or even at times it might need to decrease. So each person's dose is individualized.
The task force, which was set up to manage the economic situation in the country during the COVID-19 pandemic, is now focusing its attention on how to sustain the current economic situation and work closer with its foreign trade partners instead of how to reopen the country to airlines after the resumption of international flights to passengers earlier in August. Speaking during a high-level meeting this morning, attended by President Faure and government officers, as well as the private sector, the chairman of the task force, Didier Dogley, described the arrival during the past 6 weeks of some 2,000 tourists who contributed some $31 million to the national economy as a positive development. Talks were also based on how to reduce the different medical tests for the tourists. During the meeting, the participants discussed how to bring in more visitors from 6 special status countries in Europe, which are Seychelles' main source market for visitors, while at the same time creating transit hotels to protect the local population from COVID-19.
For us to be able to have brought in 2006 visitors, mainly from UAE and from France and other countries, I think it's a good start, it's a good beginning, and we need to balance that with all the measures that we've put in place regarding COVID so that we protect our population. So apart from asking them to do a 48-hour PCR test before they come here, down from 72 hours prior to flying to Seychelles, we're asking them to stay in, for lack of a better word, a transit hotel, where they will go and stay for the first 4 days. And during that time, they will be in quasi-quarantine, which means that they will be able to move around within the complex of the hotel, but they will not be allowed to leave the compound of the hotel for the first 4 days. And on the 5th day, they will do a second test, PCR test, to determine whether they are COVID positive or COVID negative. And should they be negative, then they will be allowed to do whatever they decide to do and get on with their holidays.
Love will never cease as long as there is a man and woman who does not know God. This was the theme of Sister Alice Vivian's Golden Jubilee celebration at the St. Michael Parish at Onsopin yesterday afternoon. Sir Alice, 75, of Mauritian origin, is a sister of the Congregation of St. Joseph of Cluny. She started her mission in Seychelles 12 years ago. She made her first profession in France on the 7th of September 1970. The ceremony was led by Bishop Denivier, accompanied by other members of the clergy as well as some members of the Anglican clergy, including Archbishop James Swan.
I expected to have my family, my sisters and all of other friends, but then it's for me like a dream that I did not expect at all, to see all the people. The church was full. I did not expect at that time, during the first day of the week, to have so many people coming to pray with me. That is really a real joy for me. I thought that I would have died long time before, but I see that I'm still here, you know. And I feel also very strong to continue to work for God.
And with this, we end this news summary. Thank you for watching. Have a very pleasant evening.